Good evening and welcome to your Friday night podcast here live on Four Lads Had a Dream. My name's Andrew and I'm joined tonight for, I do not think, too much positivity, unfortunately, from three of my very favourite co-hosts, Andrew, Calvin and Mark. Mark, I'm going to come to you first. We're going to go through the game, I think, in a lot more detail, but obviously this is pretty much immediately post-match. It's going to be our honest opinions, just our thoughts, our views on what's happened tonight. And frankly, it's not a good enough start to the campaign on Derek McInnes.
It's not. I think for me, called out after St Etienne, major concerns we had there and then. Seen it again tonight, first game, 4 seasons in a row now. We're playing catch-up on day one. We've got quite a lot to do between now and the end of August to get this transfer window in a place where we get this team competing, creating chances and looking like a Rangers team that can go on and at least challenge for this title, because from that is showing just not good enough.
No, completely agree, mate. Calvin, I'm wearing a hat because it's Friday night and, you know, it's what we do. Some of us anyway. And yeah, the disappointing thing is that so much of tonight was so familiar. We saw the same lack of urgency from Rangers, especially once we got the goal back, at a point where I thought and hoped that we would kick on. We did not see enough of that. We did not see Rangers try and impose ourselves on the game, as Derek McInnes said that we would try and do pre-match. We didn't see anything near that. We saw a team that was quite passive, and we saw a team that really failed to seize the initiative for large spells of that game. And that, for me, is the most disappointing thing.
I wasn't planning on being on here tonight, but I was feeling quite terrible. But Rangers have made me jump on because we've not got any fake positivity kind of bring up here tonight. So we talked about it, like Maury said. St Etienne game just said everything that we had needed to know about the team. There's so much lacking quality in key areas here. It's alarming, and it's something that needs to get addressed pronto. There's no time for error now. Like, that is the error. We should never have been in the first game of the season again without 3 points on the board, and it's happened. 2002 is the last time we won the first league game of the season. We can't keep chasing them for the very get-go. We've seen it with no width. We had one player who was natural width in the first half, and he started okay, but like always, dwindled away. It's not good enough, and they need to address it quickly. We've made, 8 signings so far? How many of them are key attacking players? Like, we can't just keep signing people there to put out fires, because a lot of them aren't good enough at putting out fires, and we're not getting the ball into your Shanklins, your Chermittis. They're not getting a chance to shine. We don't have it. It needs to be addressed quickly, and something needs to happen fast in this transfer window.
Yeah, Andrew, Calvin touched on it. We do have a number of new players bedding in, but I don't think that we can point to that as an excuse for this Rangers team, because Dundee United had 6 new players in their starting 11, and they were all free transfers as well. So I do not think you can use that as an excuse and say that, hey, this is a team in transition, because Dundee United are in exactly the same position, if not more so. They still controlled large spells of that game. Sure, they didn't create a whole bunch of attacking opportunities, but they didn't need to. They had a game plan. They stuck to it. They imposed how they wanted the game to go on this match. We failed to do that for large spells of that game. We did not look like we were anywhere near at it. And that's genuinely disappointing, because I think we've had a decent preseason. I think we've given plenty of time to prepare, but we have not seen, I think, a good enough change from how Rangers performed at the end of last season to how we are performing right now.
There was phases in which we should have scored, but the crucial thing is we didn't. So that's the thing, is that I'm not going to say that those phases are enough positivity to bank on and say this will get better, because if you don't take them, if we don't take them today, why am I to bank on the fact we'll take them tomorrow, we'll take them next week, we'll take them next month? As I'm saying, there was moments in this team where I think Osama looked lively, back to his best, and then, as Calvin said, he dwindles out of the game. Shankland at times looked like he was doing hold up, but then didn't give enough qualities. He wasn't in the game enough. Too many basic errors. We've been here before. I'm not saying that it can't get better. And I think with the people around the club now, if there was going to be a chance for us to get better, it would be now. Because there will be no shirking of blame. There will be no, it's only game one, lads. It will be how we're feeling in there. We're feeling crap. The manager will be absolutely livid. The leadership team should be livid because, I mean, if they aren't, then they shouldn't be in that position. But with the people we have in charge now, I would wager that they are feeling how we're feeling. So that's the only thing I can say ahead of the next game, obviously going away in Europe, is that they should know that they have dropped ground in a comedic fashion. The goal that we conceded was a disaster. The chances we didn't take are awful viewing for strikers or creative players, which is another reason why those players need to see this as chances missed for them to stay in this team. We need to be hungry and we need to bring in more creative players, I think, as Calvin was saying. It's a disappointing night, but my only hope I can rest on is the fact that they will be feeling exactly how we're feeling. I don't think I could have said that genuinely with the previous manager and the manager before him, the start of last season. I don't think there was much of an anger yet. I know that Martin threw players under the bus, but there's another way of doing that. You keep it in-house. But there's none of this. It's game one, lads. It can't be the tone from this club, and I don't think it will be.
Yeah, I mean, Mark, to Andrew's point, I've not seen any of the post-match yet. I've literally come back home and jumped on with you guys tonight. So I've not seen the reaction from the manager yet. We will have time to pick over that in the coming days. Games are going to come thick and fast. We're going to be right back into it on Thursday. There's not a great deal of time to turn around, less than a week. But it is still really disappointing to be able to be in a position to set the tone and to have such an insipid performance. What I want to do is just go through the lineup briefly, because I think that's going to highlight a couple of important points for us. We started with Panda in goals, which I don't think anyone was surprised by. Sterling, Fernandez, Godfrey, and Romans in defence, with Devlin, Diamande, Asgard, and Gisama making up midfield, with Shanklin and Nadiri up top. The biggest thing for me in that, looking at that and then the bench, is that we have one defender on the bench, and it's a guy who we signed yesterday. And also that we do not have a great deal of creativity in that team as well. And for me, the biggest problem that we had through that entire game was a lack of creativity, making stuff happen and doing stuff to unlock the defence. Because we knew Dundee United are going to have a firm defence. They are going to frustrate. They are going to try and make things difficult. None of our players looked like they could find a way to unlock that defence.
No. And I think the problem we've got is the starting lineup. I think generally running through it there. I think the back four, I'm not surprised. I think looking before the game, that's our best back four. But the defensive two, I had concerns with tonight. For Fernandez, there was moments in the game, concerns with. We know he's a good player, but tonight's showing wasn't all impressed. Pre-season, he's done okay. Godfrey, I thought some of his distribution was poor. Again, the positioning throughout, we've seen chances in space being created again or getting through us, which, against better teams, that will cause us major problems. And I'm surprised with Dio. I thought Neil would have started. And then Gisama was a bit of a surprise as well, given his lack of action throughout pre-season. But I understand why he's playing, given the width and the threat that he can impose when he's playing at his best, but he hasn't been shown that. To the guy's point earlier, I think they're right. He did start pretty well, but as the game went on, he sort of fizzled out. And then Nadir and Sharmiti was probably the other one I felt, it was a toss between the two. But just given pre-season as well, I thought Sharmiti would have started and Nadir come on, but obviously that wasn't the case. I think to your point there, Andrew, this piece on creating, I think it just shows how much we are crying out. We've got, 6 days until the European game, and then our next game's a week on Sunday. So for me against Hibs, we need to, over the next 7 days, bring in at least one winger. I'd like two. Obviously, I know it's a difficult time, but at the same time, we should be pushing all we can. And if we've got some form of transfer targets, we should be all over it. And that should be the priority over the next 7 days, because it's pretty clear and very evident, and that's showing tonight, that we have a lack of creativity and a lack of threat. And to your point there with Dundee United, they're pretty solid at it. Nothing overly exciting, but they play the basics well. They turn the ball over. Got the boy Ferry, who's a bit of threat. He's, every time I've seen him, he's actually a decent player, to be fair. But everyone else is just pretty standard. And in all fairness, they're a hard-working team. However, even with that 11 should be beating Dundee United, home or away. Does not make any difference. There's still enough quality within that team. And for me, I think, though, the big one for me, though, would be deal with Neil. I think, I don't know what Dio's done. He might be doing something in training, whatever, but the evidence I've seen in pre-season friendlies, in past seasons, he starts tonight. I didn't think he'd done enough again tonight. I was surprised, and we'll obviously come on as the game goes on, but even that substitution with Devlin, I thought it should have been Dio, but, I was really surprised that he actually started, and again, just never had that impact on the game. And I think the frustrating thing is we've seen enough of Dio over the time where he can impact games. There's definitely ability in there, but the problem we've got is he doesn't show enough. And I think sometimes that's, don't know if it's a commitment thing or can he be arsed or whatever that may be. But from my perspective now, I just think that it's one that I think he's had more than enough time to showcase that, and he doesn't deliver on a weekly basis. And I think that's probably the frustrating part, because there's moments where you see him in games and the impact he has had. If he was to do it on a regular basis, one, we'd have him for probably a season or so, and he'd be off making a bit of money. We'd recycle that money and we go again. But the problem we've got now is that inconsistency continues throughout his time, where teams are going to be coming in from, and it's that one where we'll be trying to flog at some point, or try to get a transfer deal in, and teams aren't going to be coming in from because he's just not showing enough. So, there's a couple of surprises in there. Gassama was one, but I think for me, I can understand in terms of some threat, given Ant-Man left in the week. A young Finlay Curtis has obviously been in and out through the friendlies. And again, I've said it before in the podcast, where we need to sort of protect him and not overly reliant. He's a young lad, done very well in his 6 months. You can see the impact he can have. But it's a bit of a step up from Kilmarnock to Rangers and doing it on a weekly basis. So I think we need to sort of embed him into games like we've done tonight. And then his moment will come. And he will develop into a good footballer for Rangers. But I just don't want that over-reliance on him at a young age where, the pressure's on and then his confidence just completely goes and then we're getting nothing from him. But, yeah, that's my view from the starting 11.
No, I think I can't disagree with any of that, Mark. Lackluster performances, I think, is what I would say about a good number of that starting 11. Galvin, I think the game went pretty much as we expected, at least in that first half. That Dundee United are going to try and impose themselves in the game. They are going to be aggressive. They're going to be physical. The one bright spark I would say from that first half was that Cammy Devlin was still doing Cammy Devlin things. He was breaking up play. He was trying to control the pace of the game, breaking up play, all that good stuff. But the goal that we concede is poor. I think Romans can do better. Fernandez can certainly do better. And on replays, it looks worse and worse because you see just a lack of effort getting back. And it's not like it's late on in the game. Just 40 minutes into the game. You should have energy there to be able to bust a gut to get back and go, no, I need to protect my box here. Especially when a Dundee United player is doing the exact opposite that you're doing and busting a gut to make sure that he's in the box to influence that ball, to nick it past Pandor and to get the opening goal. So that was genuinely disappointing. I think Romans, I think that happens. You can get beat as a left back. It's not pretty, but it is going to happen unless you're the best left back in the world. And he's decent, but he's not that. But Fernandez should be getting back and helping cover that goal. And the fact that he does not do that, that's genuinely very disappointing to me.
Yeah, there's a few things that was totally wrong. We said in the St Etienne game about Fernandes pressing out in the player and leaving gaps, and it's the exact same thing that's happened there. And you think he'd learn, and he bust a gut back in. As soon as he doesn't win that ball, he needs to get back into position and deal with this space. Sterling also needs to get himself a bit tighter in to block up the gap. I was really disappointed with Roman's with it because if you watch him, he slows down, get into facing the man who's got to deliver the ball. And he does the usual hands behind the back, try and block it. And I really like Romans, but that's just basic defending that's once again let down. It's two or three players that have all did basic mistakes. Roman should be tighter to his man. If he knows he's not going to get into the tackle, at least go in hard so that he can block the cross rather than just standing off it. Fernandes needs to work himself back in, be committed, show that you're a good football player with a bit of football intelligence, which sometimes he doesn't show. And Sterling is probably one of the most experienced players in the back line, should know, especially covering the centre-half quite a lot. If that person moves out, he's got to filter himself across to help block up the space. It's just basic errors, but how many times have we said that the past 2 or 3 seasons? The biggest problem we have in conceding goals isn't often it's a wonder goal. It's we've made our own error and gave them the chance to get an easy shot. And let's be honest, the goal's a total calamity. It just bounces off the guy. It looks like it's trickling wide. And that sums up what Rangers concede goals with. They aren't worldies. They're normally big errors or strokes of luck. The guy couldn't believe it. He thought he hit it miles past the post. You watch him, he hits off his shin and he goes, the arms go down, the heads go down, and it just trickles its way in.
Yeah.
It's just typical Rangers fashion at the minute sometimes. It's it's how many wake-up calls you need before you actually wake up. It can't keep going like that. I'd like to say I'm shocked, but I'm not. That's the scary thing. We've seen this story before. Things need to change quickly, and I thought McInnes is the perfect man that can get players like Fernandes to be switched on. He's on their case all the time. You could hear him in the touchline. You could see him being animated, but the players fail to recognise danger, and that's not good enough.
Yeah, I completely agree, Calvin. I think it's not. I'm not going to be throwing anything at the manager just yet because it's still early days. Fernandes has been here for a season now. Like he knows what's expected. He knows how players or how teams play against us. He knows what opposition players will do to us. He should be more than aware that they are going to bust a gut to get into a position to do something against us. And like you say, it's not a worldie that beats us. It's a sclaff. Like it just trickles past Panda. He can do nothing about it because no one's expected the ball to travel in that way. Just a real disappointment. Andrew, the manager obviously recognised that something had to change because we do make 2 substitutions at half time. Dan Neil and Yusuf Chimiti coming on for Gassama and Nadiri. I think just briefly on those 2, Gassama coming off, I think he had a couple of nice touches in the first half, but didn't offer a great deal. And that's, again, another game where you're expecting one of your more creative players to show something. In comparison to someone like Thelo Asgard, who I'm sure we will come on to, he at least was trying to make things happen. And Gassama far too often was not making the right decision, not doing enough to make stuff happen. Nadiri looked well out of it as well. And I've got a lot of time for him because I think he was one of the brightest sparks that we had towards the end of last season. But he looked nowhere near it. And I don't know if that's down to an unfamiliar player he's playing with, or if it's just adjusting to a new style of football or a change of manager even. But something about how he was performing was nowhere near what I kind of expect. So neither of the subs is surprising in terms of the players going off. In terms of the players coming on, Chimiti makes perfect sense. Dan Neil, I think, is still yet to prove himself. And I think as the game went on, has not exactly done enough to prove that he is, the man to take us forward here either.
Well, I thought at half time we were maybe going to see one of the midfield 3-ish come off to be a natural right-sided winger, because I thought every time we went to press, Shanklin goes, Nadiri would go, and then Asgard would be stuck trying to take the man in the middle of the park or take a wide player, and it just seemed to, it was like something like the Sky graphic had 45% of Dundee United's attacks coming down that side of the park. And it's like, well, no wonder when there was no actual player penciled in there. It was a bit of half and half between Asgard will drift wide and Sterling will move forward. So I thought they were going to sub on somebody I thought they were going to bring on Curtis, to be honest with you. I thought they'd bring on Curtis and they would just go with two natural wingers. Whether they take off in the dairy and just put on the winger or they take off one in the mid, I don't know. But they didn't kind of end up doing that. As a whole, I mean, a lack of quality kills you. I mean, the stats, again, I don't want to sound too positive because there's nothing to be positive about. 21 to 11, 7 shots on target, 3. But if you're not actually doing anything with them, then you're not going to get the use out of that. And all it takes is some absolute ludicrous defending at the back. And again, the worst thing about this was essentially Stoke from Oceania. All it was half of New Zealand and half of Australia hoofing long throws into our box. And we somehow almost managed to take a point. Honestly, it's laughable. It was like off coming for Dundee United, some Aussie, and on coming some other Aussie at times. It's ridiculous. But our players who were supposed to, be fit and up for this one, fired up, failed to get out the starting blocks again. Dio, I think, and I did preface this before that, I think a lot of people will be saying Dio shouldn't be playing for Rangers again. If he plays for Rangers again, he shouldn't be playing in Rangers games where it's ref by Nick Walsh. I cannot stand the refereeing performance when it's Diamande with Nick Walsh. If you go back to the slap at Tannadice, which wasn't a slap, VAR told him it wasn't a slap, and he stuck with his decision, which then got overturned by a VAR panel. Tonight, he get kicked about 17 times. It felt like every time he had the ball, there was a pull, there was a kick, nothing. And I was surprised. I wasn't surprised because I was doing the exact same thing, but I was somewhat surprised at McInnes with the one at the end where he gets pulled twice. He keeps going. Obviously, it is a goal kick because it's a good tackle in the end, but there's no advantage here. No, it was a shambles from Nick Walsh. And I'm not going to go on the John Brown line about that certain C word. But I think it's not tenable. We've seen it before with Dio and Nick Walsh. But yeah, I think the not playing Dio in games when Nick Walsh is the ref certainly wouldn't be too much of a burden for Rangers fans, with the fact that Dio maybe shouldn't be in the team after all in some people's minds.
Andrew, I think the main problem that we had was that we had players playing in blue shirts and Rangers on the chest there. So I think we were always going to be up against it when Nick Walsh is involved in the officiating. But
and this isn't so.
That's just my opinion. Just my opinion.
We drop points, and we've said that if you're going to sit in the comments and say, "Oh, look at the Rangers fans making mistakes," listen to the previous 23 and a half minutes of this podcast where we slated our own team for this whole show, and you don't take 20 seconds where I've said that I don't like the way that a certain player gets reffed, because it's a waste of time. But it's kind of. It's something that annoyed me throughout the entire 90 minutes. Every time Dio tried to do something, it was happening. But it's just a small thing that's interjected into my mind that I wanted to say because I'm frustrated.
No, and quite rightly so. Mark, I'm going to come to you for the one moment of positivity that we did have during the game, which one of our many balls into the box, Shanklin does get onto the end of it, and it's a decent pass, but I think Thelo Asgard, who very nearly got himself the thumbnail of this podcast, if only he'd scored another goal, does some brilliant work to control the ball and leathers the ball home. Like it's a fantastic strike and an excellent finish, makes it 1-1. At that point, like 56 minutes played, you have to think, okay, lads, well, we had our first half scare. We've come back and we've started brightly and we've got the goal right early on in the second half. Surely we can go on and make some magic happen.
The goal itself was outstanding. I think the work that Shanklin done in the build-up to it was excellent. Theo's first touch is sensational by the boy, and he uses his left foot to rifle into the back of the net. Goalie has absolutely no chance. Weak foot as well. Outstanding. An absolutely brilliant goal. I think to your point there, that started the second half and up to the goal, I actually thought we were pretty positive, chasing the game, thought we were on the front foot. There's some good passages of play. without overly creating, but you could just see we're sort of more on front foot, and Dundee United just started to set back. And then typical, we get the goal. You've got 34 minutes or so to go, and then bugger all. Not a lot on the back of that. A couple of moments throughout, but I just felt we went a bit flat. And then we started giving the ball away cheaply. We didn't have that tenacity. We weren't in their face as much. I don't know if a couple of changes, maybe Devlin coming off as well, might have changed that, which I was surprised. I thought it would have been Deal coming off instead. But, I think just given the work that Devlin had done, I thought he was excellent. He's pressing everywhere. He's seen him in the corner, pressing the ball. He's middle, he's chasing back, last man, outstanding. And I don't know if that maybe had a little bit of an impact on that once he went off as well. But, you're drawn 1-1, you've been behind, you get yourself back level. And like you said, you're on the front foot and you kick on. Because Dundee United were getting pinned back a little bit without us hopefully doing much, but you can kind of see we're on the front foot. But then just to show what we did, and it was kind of just a bit lacklustre, and sort of here we go again. And Calvin and Andrew have mentioned it as well, where that creativity and just spark's just not there. Which is really disappointing given how we'd went on and got the goal. And the goal, as I said, was none short of sensational. So a positive moment for Taylor Asgard. We've spoken it many times on this podcast, the impact he's going to have this season. Will it be positive or not? Moments like that, he will get a number of fans on side. There's parts of his game still I think could be worked on, but over the piece when he's having moments like that, it's absolutely brilliant. But just frustrating to just go the way we did, especially when we had that moment like 10 minutes or so going up to the goal, getting level, and then just seeing the game out the way we did. Just disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, there's 5 or 6 players that I throw in ahead before Othello Asgard in terms of I expect more from them. He is someone who looks like he's knuckling down and trying to do the work, at least. But Calvin, that is the frustrating thing, that we do get ourselves back into the mix and then we just don't do anything to really capitalise on it. My notes for the rest of the game are not exactly like detailed and scintillating here because there's not a great deal that Rangers did to create those notes. Next up is Godfrey goes off for McCrory, who slots in at right back, and Sterling moves into centre back. Again, we're just kind of shuffling the deck there because we don't have enough centre backs yet. We have 2 right backs who, it's early days, but I'm concerned that we have Sterling there, who so far has not proven himself to be a reliable starter for us. So having to shuffle the defence that early on with that few players in the defensive areas is a concern. But it's the ongoing lack of tempo, the lack of aggression, and the lack of the ability to impose ourselves on the game. That's the next note I have. The next one that we have is not for another 20 minutes, and that's when we have another substitution, because there is not a great deal that happens in between those 2 moments. It's not good enough.
No, it's certainly not. And if you think about it, probably the next best chance was the one where they've broke away and it's the ball over the back and it's they should have scored. Realistically, let's be honest, that chance they should have scored. If that was Rangers, we would be spewing that we didn't score. You'd expect a striker to take it. But that's the problem. We created that for ourselves. We pressed up the park. Romans goes up the left-hand side, doesn't come back in. That's where the big gap is. It's the constant personal errors. Romans worked himself up, had a chance to deliver, the ball comes back out, 2 or 3 passes, stays on the left-hand side, and he's still, bear in mind, they kept it between 2 or 3 players over there first, and still had the time to pick that man out in the right-hand side, in so much space. There was nobody near that guy at all. There's so much going wrong. Like, if you look at Romans, he didn't have the best of games, but if he gets injured, like he was for a long spell last season, who's the left-back? We're looking to the youth again, or you're looking at Sterling, who moving across, who once again isn't the most reliable person when it comes to staying fit. McCrory apparently has a bit of a knee injury as well. So, great. And then our new South African centre-half might not have a visa for Poland. That seems to be a bit of the chat. So, sorry about the bearer of good news. But
at what point do I need to go and find my boots here?
I've still got a pair of shinnies if we need them. But if you look at it, if you put all of that into place, the squad is so unbalanced. We've got about 90 midfielders 2 attackers and 4 defenders. Like the imbalance in the squad is unreal right now. I know we keep saying we're having to push players out the door first before we can do anything, but there's got to be a time where you've got to gamble and say the season has now begun. Players will move as the window goes, but we need to have bodies in defence and we need to have attacking options, because if we wait too long, the season can get away from you. And this isn't me saying this is all going to fall apart in the next few weeks. We just need to be smart about our business now. We know the players that we're trying to target. We might need to just gamble and get them in and then deal with who needs to leave after that, because there's a lot of movement happening just now. But we can't let the squad be so unbalanced for the first 3-4 weeks of the season before the window shuts. I think we need to be very careful as a club on what we do. Or we're going to this game against, I'm not going to try and say their name, but they're looking like a really tidy outfit. That's your job, Andrew. You love doing the pronunciations. We need to have a team that's ready, available, and they can defend and they can attack. And we need to have options that are able to come into the team when things like Godfrey getting injured happens. Because right now we're looking at saying we've got one other option and it might not be available. It's tough times, but they need to be on it straight away. And I think there might be some fast movement happening, because I know we've not talked about the post-match, but from what I've seen in the group chat there, McInnes has called out the recruitment for not doing their job quickly enough. But that could be wrong. I read that quickly.
No, like I say, none of us have watched it. We're all working off, WhatsApp chats. So especially with our WhatsApp groups, it's definitely not reliable. But yeah, hey. No, it's not just
to say it.
There's many people in there who I would consider unreliable.
Call them out, you know.
Look, we don't have time, okay? We've got so many people in there. Like, there's only so many minutes that we've got in this podcast, all right? We know, Andrew, that, there's a lack of creativity from us. We do see Finlay Curtis coming on with 10 minutes left to play. As Calvin and Mark have said, we cannot be pinning something being a game changer just on this kid. And he is. Like, he's still relatively young. He had a good half of a season at Killy on loan, but you cannot be relying on Finlay Curtis to dig you out of the hole. He is a good player, and I do want to see him bed in. I do want to see him go on to good things, and I expect that he will do that. But I do not want us to be pinning all of our hopes and dreams onto him and expecting him to be the one to dig us out of a hole, because that is an unfair burden to put onto a guy who was in the B team last season. Like, it's just unrealistic to do so.
It's the burden we threw on 18-year-old Mikey Moore last season. So another in the bank of
I do believe there is a difference in those two players, because one of them signed with Tottenham Hotspur, and
I agree with
he's not being. He's not planning on going out for anywhere less than 25 million quid. So, there's a problem.
I agree with you. I agree with you that there's a difference in player, but it was, how many times did we just shuttle the ball to Mikey Moore last season?
That maybe suggests something about last season, right?
But that's what I'm saying. I think it is slowly seeped into this season, but hey ho. Yeah. Finlay is a great player, and has a very, very high ceiling to his game. But as we've said, and I think we can say that it's been said over the last few weeks, that there needs to be patience with him, and it can't be that he is going to be the saviour. I think it may be early into the summer with the call up for Scotland that we kind of, we praised that lad, because we're going to do that. But to put solely the expectation of, we don't need that, I don't need another player down that wing, that's why you really need to continue this recruitment. You cannot just leave it to Finlay. It needs to be a case of supplementing his development with game time, instead of just going sink or swim, son. This is it. Ironically, though, he could play a lot of minutes at Kelly, but the difference is there, obviously, if Kelly get beat tomorrow or Sunday whenever they're playing, then it's not the end of the world. It's a difference for the lad. I don't think you can pin blame on him tonight. I don't think that was even what we're suggesting, but it just kind of feels a bit like in the dying embers of the game we put on our youngster. Maybe that shows how highly Derek believes in him, but it also shows we don't get any other professionals of experience that can maybe take on this burden. who knows? But I think we actually know the answer to that because we have said it for the last 20 minutes that recruitment still needs to be done. The wide areas is always the tricky one because you need to see if they can adapt to our game. You know, if they're going to look great in highlight reels, different to playing on whatever the 4 different words before Tannadice is and whatever they're sponsoring it, or obviously Poland next to the Europa League campaign. So always a different, you know, beast when you sign for us to when if you're out on loan to the Championship down south, or I don't know what's the Algerian boy with Serie B you get promoted to Serie A that we're linked with today. So it's going to be a difficult one, but I'm not in the recruitment team at Ibrox, so don't start pointing the finger at me.
No, it is clear that change needs to happen there, and quickly, Mark. We cannot afford to leave this squad where it is. There needs to be some change happening, and quickly. We've made the point that this transfer window has got some time to run, like just under 5 weeks now. But we do not want to be in a position where we are rushing at the last minute to try and make some transfers happen. We need to get the finger out and get this squad into a more balanced position because the football's starting in anger now. And league games are going to come thick and fast. The Europa League campaign is going to start against the team that finished 3rd in the Polish Premier League. And we know that we have to get ourselves in a position where we can be competitive and win those games. The squad looks far away from being the finished article as things stand right now.
Yeah, and I think to Andrew's point in terms of the Algerian from Serie B, I think we've got enough project players in this squad. I think we need to get away from this. We've done it last season. We brought in a number of players, young boys. You know, they're obviously starting to mature, etc. But I think when you get too many, then you know when push comes to shove in critical games, that lack of experience is pretty telling. And that's where I think we need to go down the likes of Cherny. I know people are saying like 7 million, etc. He's proven already. We've seen what he's done at Ibrox. Yeah, there won't be a sell-on, etc. But if you get 3-4 seasons out of him, that money pays for itself in terms of impact he'll have in Europe. If we're winning titles, etc., that money will cover itself. Even like Sima, I don't know what he's doing these days. I've not seen much of him. I know he went over to France with Brest and then he went somewhere else, but I don't know what he's doing these days. 2 boys that are proving themselves at Ibrox. And I think it goes back to that point, and obviously we've not seen the McInnes interview, but in terms of that challenge coming from McInnes, I think he's got every right to call out. You know, we've been back now for... sorry, my laptop's a bit die. I thought I'd put in charge and hadn't. So, no, so I think that challenge from recruitment for me, you know, we've been back now for 4 weeks or so, 5 weeks. They've been working on this since April, May. You know, probably longer. They've probably been identifying talents for months. And if they've not, what the hell have they been doing at work every single day? That's got to be asked. The questions have got to be asked. Regardless of McInnes being a manager or not, yes, McInnes will have the final say in terms of who he wants in the building. I absolutely get that. But if they've got some form of a pool of talent per position, they knew we had a number of boys on loan last season. They were going to be returning. We knew there'd be a number of boys that proven weren't good enough for this club. They were going to go. We've seen Bayami moving on, bits and pieces. And there's still boys in the building just now who are still not good enough for this club. However, why we not identified X amount of targets per position and said, right, we're going to try this person next and having these conversations. We're now into the season underway and we've still got, to Calvin's point there, that defence here, if South African boy, you know, Makiane, Ayanya, sorry, can't play because of his visa. Godfrey's out injured. We've got, is John Stewart even registered for Europe? I don't even know.
Oh, yeah. No, he will be.
Like,
but that depends if he's still here come next Thursday.
This is it.
So,
I've made a promise to myself this season. I don't want to swear. You know, I'm trying to be good. But Christ, like, this is just an absolute farce. And then the wingers, etc. Like, how have these not been identified? We're under the way in the season now, and we've still not got some of these targets in the building. I just find it absolutely baffling. If I was going at my job every single day and this was the results I'd be delivering, I'd be out of job. I would be out of job. Like, why are these boys not being challenged? We've got Andrew Kavanagh, who's back in the club to the hull. Let's invest in here and there. You know, we're getting certain infrastructure. We're trying to improve bits and pieces. But then a shit like this, which is absolutely critical to starting 11 or the squad. You look at that bench tonight. Did we have much options? Not really. And this is probably frustrating, but I've tried to keep this in, trying to be polite and raise concerns, but Christ, it's just not good enough. Like, we have got a major problem. We're game one underway of the season, and you can see the farce and the challenge we've got as a club right now. And if we don't turn around over the next couple of weeks, we could be chasing like 4 or 5 points after 3 games. Like, it's just absolute madness. That's why I'm saying the next 7 to 9 days, absolutely critical. Go in this European game, get a draw or whatever over there, take them back to Ireland, we've got a bit of time, but Christ, there's a lot of work to be done.
I think that's it. Like, it's the pressure is there, and no one, I think, is more aware of what the pressure is at Rangers than Derek McInnes. Like, he will be well aware of what is required here. What he needs to be doing now is imposing that same pressure onto these players, and I think, in fairness, also needs to be applying that to the recruitment team as well. We've seen that from what we've been passed over from group chats. We know that there has been comment about frustration with the work that the recruitment team has done, and it's clear like that needs to be further forward than it is right now. We do not want to be in a position that we were last season, where after the opening 7 games, we're already worrying about making the split. Like, that's where we were last season. I do not want to turn this into a Danny Roll tribute session and talk about where we were and where we've come to. What I do want to focus on is making sure that we do not have as similar a start as we had last season. We have to be much, much better than that. We need to be improving our position. Calvin, we need to be in a position where we look like we are league challengers, because that's the bare minimum right now. We need to be challenging for this league. I want us to be looking like we're going to stomp it all the way to the league title. But at the very least, we need to be looking like we can put in a league challenge. Honest answer, where do you think Dundee United are going to end up at the end of the season? Because I do not think they make the top 6. Like, honest opinion, I think they probably like kind of 7, 8, maybe.
So in that group middle where it could go anyway. They're probably not going to be the top 3, 4. They're probably not going to get relegated, but in that middle group that could finish anywhere between 5th and 8th, 9th, probably.
So that's it. We need to be in a position where we can brush these teams aside, even away from Ibrox, even away from our home. We still need to be demonstrating that we can impose ourselves, that we can go to these types of grounds and get the win by hook or by crook. I have always maintained I do not care how ugly the win is. I will happily take 2-0 wins that look dodgy as hell all the way from here until the end of the season, because you do that all season, you win a league. I don't care. Like, nice football can come later. Winning's the important thing. Derek McInnes said as much before the game even kicked off. We do not look like a team who can go to difficult places like this and grind out a win, because conceding an opening goal in a sillier fashion as that, failing to take your opportunities, this is exactly the type of game that we can have all season, and it will be the type of game that costs us the league when it's all said and done.
Yeah, it seems to be the common theme here, and I was kind of thinking about what Maury was saying there about recruitment. The big thing we heard 2 months ago was the recruitment policy would now be we'd look at Scottish-based players or players that have played in Scotland that can understand the game. So Shankland, Devlin, McCrory. What else? They missed out on Luke Graham. The targets that we're getting linked with are all these exact same championship, low-level, European, Serie B, whatever. To me, this now screams that, and this is me just putting 2 and 2 together and probably getting 59 or something here, but this recruitment team seems to be the same situation as it was last year. They want to put their own stamp in it, so the manager can have whatever situation they want, whatever targets they have, and it seemed to be the same what Danny Rowe was saying. So McInnes has probably got a group of players. He goes, these are the players that I want to bring into the club. The recruitment team then decides they're not the type of players we want. So he's probably looked at wanting to increase the experience. I know. Wants to increase the experience and things like that there. We're still looking at the same championship players, the League One players. It needs to change. It needs to change. the recruitment team's making mistake after mistake after mistake. There's very few players that are coming in and being a success. It's affecting the full squad. We're not getting winners on the park. We're getting more development players as it stands. Where do they go next? Go sign players that know how to win games and have got a good bit of match day experience behind them. We can't let our recruitment team decide that they're going to have their own vision that's against what the manager wants to look at, because that's what it's starting to say to me. We've got players there that haven't been there, done it. It's another set of under 16s that are coming through for the English leagues and they're getting put in. It's not good enough. We're Rangers Football Club, and they need to realise that you're not dealing with, and even like Everton's a big club, but they're not challenging for titles every single year. That's what these guys were at. They're coming in for clubs that don't expect success, or at least aren't guaranteed success. It needs to change quickly. They need to get players that can win games and understand the pressure of delivering for big clubs. We can't just go in and sign these project players. It's not good enough. It needs to change so that we can win trophies and this team can build. I had another one. That was my rant that I hadn't lined up. I can't even deal with it anywhere.
I think your point, sorry, Andrew, I was going to say Calvin's point. I think you're right. I think that it's a balance that we need. I think in terms of that transfer model we want to embed in this club, buy a couple of players, keep them for a season or two, sell them for 20 million, whatever, and keep that cycle going. I think that's absolutely fine, but you've got to have a balance between a couple of project players and then the bulk of some form of experience of the league and experience, as said, winning trophies, etc. elsewhere. We just don't have that. Sorry, Andrew, I just wanted to say that.
No, I think it's something that we're all thinking as fans. Like with this, we're looking at project players. Are they making it? Are they not able to stay here long enough? You take a loan deal for another club. We don't build our own players. Look at Curtis. He went out on loan, had a chance to shine, and still he's not really going to float about that first team. But maybe tonight he's looking at a player that he's done more than Gassama's done the last 10 months. So should he have started? Probably. You look at Dio, who's let us down time and time again. Daniel maybe wasn't that great when he came on, but did you give him the chance? There's too many players that are hoarding it in for too long. Like, we don't have natural winners on that team. You thought you had a bit more like Sharon than that being in there, but even then, he needs creativity coming from behind him. The players aren't there to lap it up. We haven't got pace. We haven't got power. We haven't got creativity. And certainly we don't have that many defenders either. They need to get this recruitment sorted out very, very quickly. Have those experienced heads in that can just guide you through a game. Like, we need those players in the park. You need your experienced centre-half that can talk your Fernandes through the park, through the game all the time. You need that central midfielder that can just control it beside Devlin. Devlin's there to win the ball and move it on, to give the ball to better players. Who was he giving the ball to tonight? We always talked about Thompson was there to win the ball back. He gave it to Davis. Devlin should have been there to give it to such and such. But giving it to Dio isn't going to work. It's not Dio's type of game. He'll drift in and out. You don't have that control in the midfielder. They're not identifying the players that you need to be a success. It's all players that can run about the game, get themselves involved now and again. We don't have those commanding starting players. We don't have that, and it needs to be addressed quickly.
Andrew, I almost fear to do this, but I'm going to give you the last word because I think we will start talking ourselves around in circles here. As I said before we started, we are going to talk about this plenty over the next couple of days. We unfortunately have nothing but this to talk about until we come around to our Europa League fixture. So, yeah, your final thoughts on the game as a whole, where it leaves us right now, and what needs to happen for Rangers going forward.
Oh, God.
Easy one, right? What's the problem?
This feels like when you're sitting in your advanced higher English, and it's like, this is like 59 minutes into like an hour exam, and it's this in conclusion paragraph.
Hold on, you did advanced higher English?
It might not look like that. I mean, you completely derailed my point there. You get all the way to your end of your exam, and you've got to wrap up with it in conclusion, and then just briefly mention everything you've said throughout the rest of it. Is where you've just dropped me in here. Look, I really want to just sum up by saying it can only get better and just leave it there because first of all, I don't think it can get much worse than that. I think individuals that let us down did so in awful, awful fashion. I mean, Manny Fernandes, I said during the Saint-Etienne game, needs to stop thinking he's Van Dijk. Well, today he took it a step further and thought, nah, I'm not Virgil, I'm Franz Beckenbauer this evening. Made some mistakes, just brutal in front of goal as a whole. as I said, it can only get better. Statistically, it can only get better. If you're going to keep generating that amount of chances, eventually you will score. So, at least there's no mention of the players suffering from, I don't know, anxiety, or they're feeling the pressure, or, I don't know, a manager with curtains this year, I suppose. But are those positives? Is that as unnegative as it can be?
It was a comment, Andrew, and I think that's all I can really ask from you right now. I'm not going to ask you to try and polish the proverbial.
I'm doing this all tonight without a drop of alcohol in me, lads. I think you are all, if I'm correct, all of you have had some libations.
Andrew, so. I cannot condone that sort of behaviour, quite frankly. From my
nearly jumped in when you went, it can't get worse. It can.
It can.
It can.
I hope boys, not. I really hope not.
Yeah. We are. We are. As I say, we will talk about this plenty over the next few days. I've just found out I can ban people from Twitter just by going directly to Twitter and doing that. So don't worry, boys. We're taking care of business. I'd like to say it's been a good time. It's certainly been therapeutic tonight, if nothing else. I do appreciate the three of you jumping on with me here. So first of all, I want to thank my three lovely co-hosts. Mark, a pleasure. It's been a little while, actually, so it's good to talk to you, man.
It's good to be back. Glad the season's back, and now I've got my season pass for therapy all year, so it's a pleasure.
God, that's so through gritted teeth and everything. Calvin, cheers. Good to see you, man. And we'll keep working away.
It was nice to get a wee bit off my chest. I think it helped me go over that tonight. But I'll be going back to bed after this. This is, here we go again, boys.
hey, it's what Rangers do to you, baby. That's hey, we'll be there Thursday. Like, no matter what, we will still be there. Follow, we will. Andrew, always good to see you, man. Appreciate you coming on, especially without any kind of chemical assistance. It sucks, but I'm glad to have you here with me to try and shine a light, doing what you can. Man.
I think if we don't have better help on this group of sponsors above us this season, then we've really made a big mistake. So if you want to get your first month through your therapy, use code 4lads at checkout. See, it'd be so much easier. I've been doing your job for you, Andy, with the sponsor. See, that'd be so much easier if we just had them in there.
We take that. Genuinely, I would take that, but then it'd be another time I've got to redo the
graphic again. You're gonna have to shrink
the intro videos. The outro videos
coming because we're still on the search.
Yeah, no, I know. We are unfortunately still looking for sponsors. We'll always
recruitment team, man. Come on, Calvin. We will get it done.
Listen, I do want to thank everyone for tuning in, all 4,000 odd of you for joining us. There are a few fans of opposition teams, which, I mean, lads, good to know that you've got a really good Friday night ahead of you, that you're tuning in for this. At least Rangers fans have got a reason for it. So, but nonetheless, we appreciate everyone for showing us support. Anyone who subscribed, thank you so much. If you haven't done already, like, share, comment below. Let us know if you liked it. Let us know if you don't. If you want to see more, if you want to see less, if you'd rather that I don't do hosting anymore, like anything. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. We definitely won't use it to ban people preemptively or anything like that. Thank you all so very much for joining us. Before we go, got to do the plugs. So first of all, members, if you'd like to join as a member, well, QR code right there. It's the first time. I always know where it is. I always know. Scan that. You can join as a member, ad-free versions of the podcasts and exclusive interviews with a whole bunch of former Rangers players. I believe we currently have Mark Walters interviewed by David Hurd, which was a fantastic watch. So definitely do check that out. If you can, join as a member because it helps us grow. 99p a month gives us access to new kit. Finally, might buy Kenny a laptop that works. I mean, we bought him one already, but Stevie was in charge of buying it, and it's still in its box because that's how good it was. So it helps us grow eventually, by hook or by crook. Donations and such will help us go. If you can't do that, subscribe, like, share, all the good YouTube stuff. That all helps us. So we appreciate any kind of support that you can show us. I also want to thank all of our lovely sponsors this season. So one time for the one time, my thanks to CBD Oil Scotland, our lovely friends over at Candide, LBJ Consultants, Leaf Scooters Scotland, our roofing partners, Metaclad, Aesthetics by Sharon, Denhay Bacon, the quintessential British bacon, and our partners, Black Rooster, Art of Gold, and the RYDC. My thanks to all of our lovely sponsors. I cannot thank them enough. They are the wind beneath our wings, along with everyone out there watching or listening to the podcast. So thank you all very, very much for your support. Folks, it is going to be a season. We will be here no matter what happens. If Rangers are good, if Rangers are bad, if Rangers are maybe somewhere in the middle, doesn't matter. We will be here. We will continue to follow on. And hey, we will always support the Glasgow Rangers because I'd much rather do that than any other team in Scotland. So thanks to everyone here for tuning in. My thanks to my three lovely co-hosts once more. And until we talk to you again, folks, bye for now.
The Four Lads Rangers podcast is proudly sponsored by Candide, LBJ Consultants, CBD Oil Scotland, Elite Scooters Scotland, and Metaclad, Four Lads' exclusive roofing partner. The Aesthetics Lounge by Sharon, Denhay, the quintessential British bacon. Thank you to all our sponsors, and in partnership with Black Rooster, Art of Gold, and Rangers Youth Development Company. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.